Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our February 22nd Board of County Commissioners meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. If you all could please take a seat in the back. We will start our meeting off this morning with a moment of silence for our invocation, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this morning we have an additional item, consent item 17, adopt a proclamation declaring Florida Bicycle Month and Bike to Work Day as designated March 7th through the 13th, 2022 is Flood Awareness Week, also in Martin County, Florida. We have no other additional items. We have no consent polls. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All is opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Let's see here. Public speaker, these are all public. Okay, first thing we're going to do this morning is we will take up, we're going to do our proclamation, I apologize. Florida City and County Management Association will recognize Martin County. We have with us this morning Daniel Ike, representing the Florida City and County Management Association. If you please come up. Good morning.
Right here's fine, I take it. I will be quick. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and Administrator. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Daniel Ike. I'm here on behalf of the Florida City County Management Association and the International Cities Managers Association to recognize Martin County's 40th anniversary as a council manager form of government. The ICMA likes to recognize the significant work that all elected officials do and to celebrate you for doing it alongside administrators and managers across the world, and in this case, for the past 40 years. We all know that you and your administrators strive tirelessly on behalf of residents and visitors of this beautiful county, and we salute you for your efforts each and every day. I have a certificate here to present to you guys. Hopefully we can get a quick photo. Thank you for having me this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful and productive meeting.
Thank you, Dan.
No problem.
Me?
Yes, as representative of the other side of the city manager.
Where's right here?
Yeah, you do this. Yes. All right, we'll do a couple photos. All right, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Aaron should be in the middle there giving it to her, not to him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was shocking. Oh, yeah, yeah. Just send me a picture.
Laura, do you have this? I do.
Sure it is. Yeah.
Did she break her hip? Or she just
No, just replacing.
Just days before?
No, a week or so before.
Yeah, right. One thing today. Okay. Get back to this. Apologize.
Commissioner Smith, this is unusual, but I'd like to step in front of the public speakers in order to memorialize Maggie Herchala this morning.
That'd be fine, and then if it's okay with you, because we've had a request from Maggie's grandson to speak after you, if that's okay with you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
A legend in Martin County passed away this Saturday, and Maggie was a woman who had extraordinary gifts. We talk about how Martin County is different. We all talk about how Martin County is different. And if there's one person who's responsible for the Martin County difference, it's Maggie. She was the chief architect of our first comprehensive plan. She was a woman of extraordinary talents and gifts. She was a gifted philosopher and a writer and an engineer and a mathematician and an attorney and a kayaker and a scientist and a hydrologist, a geologist. She was so many things to us, but for most of us, she was an extraordinary teacher. So for those of us who learned so much from Maggie, we all need to redouble our efforts to protect the things that she taught us to cherish the most. Things like wetlands and uplands, and aquifers, and wading birds, and shorelines, the Indian River Lagoon, the St. Lucie Estuary, the Everglades, and the comprehensive plan and everything in it. The 4-story height limit, the urban service boundaries. We need to protect those things. So thank you, Maggie, for making Martin County so different. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Next up, and first off, we'd like to ask Maggie's grandson, James Hercella, to please come up. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm addressing.
James, would you raise the microphone?
Of course.
You're tall.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Imagine that.
Here, I'll do a little squat for you. But I am here to address comp plan changes. I believe they're 2021-08 and 2021-09. And I think that it is abundantly clear why many of us are here in unison. These comp plan changes, ambiguous as they are, signify a challenge to our ways of life. What is proposed would allow conversion and development of agricultural land from here to Lake Okeechobee with no regard as to urban density. These changes will simultaneously kill agriculture as well as stop any efforts for environmental conservation on these lands dead in its tracks, simply on a flimsy and deceptive promise of economic benefit. And a promise that is overall disingenuous to my people personally, the blue-collar workers of this county, who I feel would most likely be left behind in a wake of unaffordable housing due to an increased price of land. What it will do, on the other hand, is ensure our county succumb to urban sprawl, which would most likely assuredly have adverse effects on our air and water quality. Martin County has widely been known as the most ambitious defenders of our natural environment, and to pass these changes fly in the face of those values. The damage that these changes would cause is unconscionable, and I implore every single one of you to see reason and heed our will and turn these changes down. And to continue to describe the minutiae of these changes, I think would be pedantic of me. So, and there are many others who will, I'm sure, describe the minutiae of these changes. So I choose to address this to everyone here who has chosen to attend this meeting. I applaud your efforts and your voices, and I want you all to know this. It is in times of terrible tragedy that our ideals are reinforced, and it is through community that we can uplift these ideals in order to protect our homeland, each other, and the hope for a brighter future. A future where the young can champion the values that the older generation has instilled in them. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Next speaker we have this morning is Regina Wood, and following Regina Wood would be Joe Neeson.
Doug, we can't hear you back here at all.
Thank you.
I can hear you here.
Well, Regina heard us, because she's up here. Good morning.
A little louder. Into the microphone.
Excuse me, please.
Regina, you have 3 minutes, please.
Okay. This will be short and sweet. My name is Regina Wood. My husband and I have lived in Martin County since the 1970s, and we live in Palm City. We've been in Palm City since the early 90s. We request that you vote against the proposals for the CPA 2108 and CPA 2109. We and many and others have many questions about how the establishment of a rural lifestyle designation will affect all of Martin County and its future growth. The public has a right to know exactly what is going to happen and to have all of its questions answered. And short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joe Neeson. Following Joe Neeson is Rebecca Fatzinger. Good morning.
Good morning. Here we are again. I think that you guys underestimate how stupid you think we are. Just because you don't go higher than 4 stories that we would notice, you think you can just spread this out as far as you want to and nobody's going to pay attention. That's insane. We cannot accommodate, with the infrastructure we have now, this continued rapid and rampant growth. It's time for us to start looking at smart growth, not stopping growth, but how about we put in the roads and the schools and make arrangements for how we're going to deal with these people before they get here. That'd be something new and interesting. I found it abhorrent that the majority of our commissioners, city and county, are either real estate investors, developers, or agents. I think that ought to be blatantly obvious to anybody that's a conflict of interest. I think we're being sold out. I don't think you are looking into the future. For the first time in my 50 years of being here and fighting for the environment, kids that I went to school with, who raised their families here and are grandkids here, are moving out of the state because they can't afford it anymore. For the first time in 50 years, I'm having to take a roommate to be able to afford a place to live in my home. This is ridiculous. It's up to you to stop it, and it's necessary that we stop it now.
Following Ms. Fetzinger is Ann Scott.
Hi, I've lived in Rio for 37 years. Things I love about Martin County is its beautiful nature. I'm a wildlife photographer, which has made me appreciate the natural beauty even more. So much life goes on in our trees, our wetlands, our waterways, all our natural areas. It's really amazing. But now it seems every time I go, I see another area being cleared or tagged to be cleared. I try and get pictures of it all before it's nothing but a big pile of mulch and a sand lot, which happens so fast it makes your head spin and your stomach churn. The total disregard for our wildlife on these projects is mind-blowing. Our local tortoises, they're all being scooped up and taken away. Where's their voice? The birds, the lizards, the raccoons, the possums, the bobcats, the coyotes, the gators, the insects, the squirrels, the snakes. The list goes on and on. Where's their voice? Unfortunately, they never have one. Now I sit in my backyard and watch the view of a beautiful patch of woods destroyed. The same patch that I've watched bald eagles bring their young, ospreys, big owls, little owls, sandhill cranes, bobcats, every critter that called it home. They're all gone in a flash. It's a project that I understand will be dredged river muck dumped there in a stormwater lake. Let's see how that works out. As I'm writing this, I'm listening to the beeping and the noise of construction vehicles, the sickening sound of the beautiful big trees cracking as they fall to the ground. I guess that's their voice. Please preserve every bit of nature you can. Don't let us humans become the invasive species that destroys everything around here. Thanks.
Following Ms. Scott is Carol Fitzpatrick. Morning.
My name is Ann Scott. I'm here today because of Maggie. I had hoped never again to find myself in this grayscale Oz, this chamber of duplicity. Never again to find myself standing in this fetid atmosphere where gather bureaucrats with bartered souls, whose only fealty is to the kleptocracy that bought them their power. Those who hold power and influence over the conduct of business in this Potemkin government and its administration neither listen nor deliberate on the matters that require public passage through this chamber. I know that my words are as ineffective and wasted as the 4 years that I spent here on that dais, naively unaware of the stranglehold the tentacles of development exert on this building, its denizens, and all that happens here. You will do what you will do, regardless of what I or anyone else says. But I come today for Maggie, a fierce warrior, an indomitable protector of the life we hold dear. I come for Maggie to speak for her, to say, rural lifestyle? Equo ne credite, commissioners, don't trust the horse or those who come bearing gifts. Rural lifestyle? Don't do it. Show us, for once, that you are better than that.
Carol Fitzpatrick, please, followed by Virginia Sherlock. Good morning.
Morning.
Why have we not had workshops, as was told at the commissioners' meeting for change in the comp plan on January 20th? This is the second meeting since then. We still have not had open workshops. Basing the land use on a promise that residents will be very rich and will increase the tax base and have no interest in using any Martin County services cannot be supportable. Services include fire, rescue, police, and hospitals. Our hospitals are at code red at this time and for the past 2 or 3 years. We cannot ask for the amount of new people coming in for our services to support this. We need the infrastructure done beforehand. Given the incentives, the prices of rural land in Martin County and the profit to be made from development will dramatically accelerate conversion of farmland. And it's going to be impossible to purchase public lands for the environment. Make developers' projects contingent upon building the schools, public areas, sewage treatment facilities, and external road improvements before their projects are approved. And since we're supposed to be living in a democracy, try listening to the will of the majority of your constituents. Taxpayers have had it. The experience of the Ag Preserve in Palm Beach County appears to demonstrate that ag easements will not last. Owners of lands with easements will insist that they are surrounded by suburbia and will be relieved of their easements. Let's try to learn from Palm Beach Gardens' mistakes. Thank you.
Yeah. Following Ms. Sherlock is Mayor Karen Ostrand.
Good morning. My name is Jenny Sherlock. I live in Stewart, and as prior speakers have said, the public has many, many questions. I, as a lawyer, have many questions about these rural lifestyle amendments, and as a citizen, I have questions. Here are some of my questions. Why is the rural lifestyle land use designation being offered as a county-wide land use designation rather than a site-specific designation for the 1,494 acres to be developed by Becker? How many acres of land are potentially available for designation as rural lifestyle if the new designation is approved? How will the provision limiting the number of employees per 100 acres to 6 employees be enforced? What is the legal basis for the Martin County comp plan to limit the number of employees a property owner may hire? If new development pays for itself and brings in higher property tax revenues, why are Martin County property taxes going up each year rather than going down as more and more development is approved? If 1 acre of land must be set aside off-site for preservation for each 2 acres which are being developed, as rural lifestyle property? Is the off-site acreage included in the total acreage for density calculation? Is the provision allowing wetland habitat to be preserved off-site a form of mitigation that allows wetlands on-site to be destroyed? If the off-site conservation land is governed by the provisions of the PUD agreement that governs the developed portion, can the agreement simply be changed in the future to eliminate conservation requirements? Does a golf course include a miniature golf course? A rural lifestyle development is intended to be self-supporting and self-contained. How will a rural lifestyle community receive fire protection and law enforcement services if county services are not going to be extended to the rural lifestyle property outside the urban services boundary? Will rural lifestyle communities have their own school system separate from the Martin County School District? How will Martin County ensure that sufficient agricultural land is available for economically sustainable agricultural industry if rural lifestyle development is allowed throughout the county on agricultural land? Final question. Does a swimming pool count as a man-made open space?
Mayor Ostrand, please.
I'm submitting my questions for the record.
Mayor? And also following the mayor is the Honorable Janet Nelson Gallant. Is that correct? Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner, and all of the commission. I thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. This morning, I do want for you to understand something that there seems to be very much confusion in my town with, and that includes so many people of the town, even though the town is growing, and the exit from the side entrance to our town being just south is extremely difficult. Now, I totally understand that it has to be a one-way. That's not what I'm getting to. What I'm getting to is that it should be north, because coming out to shop, everyone, for years and years, was accustomed to come out north. They can go around the circle, and then they go to Publix. Well, by making it just south, if they go out that side, they would go down Maple Street and make a left-hand turn on Jensen Beach Boulevard at Maple Street. Very, very difficult. I've been driving this back and forth. Now, if you go north, you would then be able to come back and make a right-hand turn into Maple Street, and then another left on Sun's property and go into the entrance. By just using the main road as the only exit is really difficult to make left-hand turns on Indian River between 3 and I would say about 6:30, giving all fairness. So I really want you to think about that. We really need that to go north and not south. I thank you for this time, and I hope that you will agree with me and just try driving it and see exactly what I'm saying. Thank you.
Ms. Gallant. Following Ms. Gallant will be Bridget Curao. Good morning.
Mayor Janet Galante, former retired mayor of Roslyn, New York. And it is my first meeting here, and I thank you for all the work that you do, and especially your kind comments. I don't personally know the woman deceased, but you really moved me. Again, thank you. It is my first meeting. I live in Ocean Breeze under the tutorship of Mayor Ostrin. And I just wanted to call attention to the traffic engineer, Nicole Spritzler, who heard my plea because, you know, we're having the Jensen Beach Boulevard closed for the two-track alignment. And initially, the signs were just saying that they were going to be closed on February 14th, which didn't really appear to have transparency because they really are in effect closed until March 11th. So after several phone calls, including to Congressman Brian Mast, I finally got to the right person of Nicole. And within, I'd say 24 hours, those signs were corrected to where they would be Jensen Beach Boulevard closed until March 11th, which gives the community an understanding of the nature of that project. So I did want that to be put into the record, please. So again, going back quite a ways to this problem that the mayor just spoke about and the alignment of the West End Avenue. We've had petitions, and I'm sorry that I don't have 9 copies, but I will submit them into evidence, that we've been really vehemently against this one-way traffic on West End Avenue going the north and south route. So I'd like you to take a hard look at that and maybe perhaps work better with some communities and our community that is growing by exponential numbers, that we look at this alignment and make sure that it's what the community needs. People living here understand the one-way traffic with the RVs that are coming in and out and the population explosion on this tiny little street. Thank you very much for your time. I will get the copies into record.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bridget Kirock, followed by Sam Hay, please. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Bridget Kerouac. I live in Hobe Sound. I'm here this morning to request that you reject the proposed amendments to our comprehensive plan and to reject the Atlantic Fields development. This is a slippery slope. You basically are exploding the urban services boundary by running sewer and water out to this development. Once you do that, it's, manifest destiny to Lake Okeechobee. It's disingenuous to expect us to believe that increasing the density, quadrupling the density on this rural land won't affect us. We already experience flooding in the dry season during a heavy rain. The county is purchasing several homes in Hobe Hills because of drainage problems. Taxpayers don't need to be on the hook for more of this nonsense. Excuse me. The urban services boundary is there for a reason. The comprehensive plan is the rule book. If developers can't develop according to the rule book, then they can't develop. That's why we have a comprehensive plan. Once you have one of these planned unit developments like Atlantic Fields, everyone else who comes after is going to say, oh, this is a precedent. Why can't we do it? You let them do it. We have a comprehensive plan for a reason. We want you to stop messing with it. It makes our county what it is. The people who developed it worked very, very diligently with great care and forethought. And, every time we turn around, we have to be here, like watching you people. You represent us. You represent us. So stop trying to destroy the comprehensive plan that makes this county the place that we want to live. Thank you.
Sam Hay, please. And following Mr. Hay will be Ben Lovelace. Good morning.
Morning, I'm Sam Hay. Excuse me. I live in Port Salerno, and I came here today to urge you to reject the changes to our comprehensive plan outlined in these items. I believe it was PH4 and PH5. These two items would emasculate the comp plan by first creating a new land use designation, the so-called rural lifestyle, and then changing the future land use designation to 1,500 acres from agricultural to this new designation. I would suggest a more appropriate name for the new designation is not rural lifestyle, but playground for the rich. Overdevelopment in our county has lately gotten alarmingly out of hand. Our comp plan was designed to protect us from this horror, but the current Board of Commissioners has already punched so many holes in the comp plan that it has been diluted and degraded. Only 3 months ago, a proposal to delete Chapter 2 of the plan further threatened what's left of its effectiveness. Now these latest proposals would breach the urban services boundary, which was intended to protect the agricultural areas of our county from harmful development. One rationale offered for approving the Becker Discovery Project is that it would enhance county revenues through property taxes. In the longer term, this doesn't appear to be realistic when we take into account the additional infrastructure expenses, including hospitals, ambulance services, schools, policing, not to mention flood control and sewage treatment. It is far more likely these expenses would have to be financed by us, the county's taxpayers. A second justification offered by these developers is that their project would preserve large tracts of open rural space, but this claim is cruelly illusory when we consider that this open space would include a golf course and polo grounds, facilities which obviously would not be accessible to the general population. And we all know that such facilities use large amounts of fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, which will enter our waters through runoff. Any approved breach of the urban services boundary would set a dangerous precedent and ultimately render our comp plan impotent and meaningless. It would inevitably lead to further violations of the protections the plan was designed to protect against. Please don't allow our beautiful Martin County to be further blighted by the overdevelopment which has despoiled so much of South Florida. Please protect our county's natural heritage for future generations. Please do not dishonor Maggie's memory by destroying her legacy.
Ben Lovelace, please, followed by Bill Baldwin. Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to express my views about the future of our county of which I am a resident. It begins with a question. Are you serving the needs of our residents or other possibly outside commercial interests? If you ask any Martin County resident, most would say they like the small town atmosphere. They like the water. Water has taken a hit and we're on track to not being a small town. Canner Highway is 6 lanes, the same as I-95, more than the Turnpike. Where are we going with this road? If Indiantown turns into a small city, which it has a right to do, those people will happily speed past I-95 and go to Costco. If businesses and residences fill in between Indiantown and Stewart, we will be no better than Boca, West Palm, Port St. Lucie, and dare I say, Fort Lauderdale. Is that what we are going for? Honestly, convince me otherwise. You say growth helps our property values. I say no growth helps our property values. Our property values would go up if you did nothing. Recently, the county upgraded the storm sewers in my neighborhood. The contractors and subcontractors did a very nice job. Even neighbors that were possibly opposed in the beginning seem almost happy with it now. The problem is the water goes directly into the South Fork of the St. Lucie River. Every week I take water samples of the river for the Marine Resources Council. Water visibility is generally a little more than 3 feet. My now deceased neighbor remembered a time when he could see the bottom of the river. It's about 8 feet deep behind his house. Even though there were 4 gas stations around I-95 and another small mom and pop station further north, Racetrack was approved and 7-Eleven is not far behind. I can see the Racetrack sign and gas prices from my house. I buy gas there. They have a water retention area. That's good. The small preserve area between my house and Racetrack used to be full of gopher tortoises, small ones, big ones, and ones jostling for territory on our new sidewalk. I'm not sure where they have gone. I saw one get run over. Maybe they are still there. Does anyone care? There used to be a family of owls that roamed the neighborhood. Land crabs with little arms reaching to heaven used to cover the street during their yearly walkabout. The ones that made it to Canner unfortunately didn't make it back. A sign of progress, I guess. Has anyone seen a butterfly lately? If you really cared about our area, fix the water. Okay, it's out of your hands, above your pay grade, but you can do something. Make sure the water going to the river is somewhat clean. Publicly, not privately, ask the sugar and farm interests to help us. They know how to deal with muck. Get it out of the river. They know how to grow things. Help us regrow seagrass. Maybe they aren't experts at reestablishing oyster beds, but I bet you know someone that is. Work to fix the water and our property values will go up. Work to fix the water and that will be your legacy, and your constituents will always love you.
Bill Baldwin, followed by Diane Meyer. Good morning.
Morning, everybody. Bill Baldwin from Port Salerno. Just a few pages of remarks. Let's see. I came here to say no to yet another insult to our growth management plan. My wife and I came here 36 years ago, because of Martin County's way of life and the plan for the future. It looked to be a great place for my family, a family of two successful professionals, and my 5 grandchildren, all with homes inside the original planned residential areas. Stick to the plan, please. A family that I hope will still have a county to be proud of years after I'm gone. Yet some of the commissioners, funded largely by out-of-county money, continue to chip away and degrade our well-designed comp plan. Will this change add more happiness for the majority of the residents, less traffic, better water supply? Will it increase the space for needed natural world? Will it lower taxes? No way, it never has, it's proven. Will it make it less crowded when we go out boating? You know the answer. All these changes, are these what you dream for your grandkids? No, but here we are with another negative plan for Martin County, brought to us by the same folks with the out-of-county money, the funds that many of our commissioners use for their election campaigns. Commissioners that pay lip service to supporting our growth plan and the Martin way of life. In every meeting like this, I hear individual residents, 50, 100 of them, speaking out against these changes. And we have 1 or 2 clowns from the Realties Association or Builders Association. This should set off an alarm, you know? You know, if it smells like a turd, if it looks like a turd, etc., it is a turd. This idea stinks. Time for the commission to do the right thing for the residents of Martin County and the majority of the county. I know the pressure, the assault on our comp plan will continue, as Martin County is one of the best in Florida. Unfortunately, it makes our county a target with lots of potential for greedy, foolish development. But to sell out and further degrade our county is unethical and immoral. Let's see. I believe we all know if the residents of this county got to vote on this miserable idea, it would be a solid no. Time to do your duty. Take off your puppet of greed coats and vote this out of our county. Thank you for your time.
Diane Meyer, followed by Benjamin Dryle. Is that Dial? Sorry. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
I'm Diane Meyer. I live in Stewart, and I would like to make a motion for the commissioners and for the growth management to immediately begin a moratorium on building permits until the increased traffic effects with the proposed projects are thoroughly studied and the impact reports are published for constituents to review. I was over in St. Pete a couple weekends ago and was wondering why there was a stoppage of traffic on this main highway. Well, there was a Costco, and they're selling gas at 20 cents less a gallon than all the other stations around. The traffic was backed up, and I'm just saying, I wonder what's going to happen here. So I hope you consider that, make a moratorium on permits. Thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin Dial, is that it? Followed by Molly Potter Thayer.
Hi, my name is Benjamin. I live in Jensen Beach, and I'm the one that dug out Santa Lucia Beach North Access. I went there because the surf shop posted that somebody had filled it in, and there was a bunch of people posting online saying we should get shovels, we should get shovels. Well, guess what? I went home from work and I got a shovel and I stayed out till 5 in the morning digging out that beach by myself. So I wanted to say thank you for listening by restoring the shower to the beach for us surfers and fishermen and families out there. I appreciate that. We do need a trash can, though. There's lots of litter. I've been picking it up already. That being said, I think it's important to recognize that you guys are our servants. So thank you for serving us by recognizing that that beach is ours, right? We pay the taxes on it. That beach is our place. Now, the questions are, how did the county come to the decision to close it? We heard a lot of different stories about, oh, it was a permitting issue, it was environmental, people were this, people were that. The big question is, what about that $5 million property that was just north of Santa Lucia that just got sold? And who's that connected to, right? Maybe they had an issue with all of us surfers and anglers and fishermen that go out there. Who or what agency directed the fill-in, and who signed off on filling in that beach access without the public knowing? Where was the sand acquired? The sand that was dumped on that beach, if you walk on that beach, it's a clay-like mud right now. It used to be natural beach sand, okay? So wherever that sand came from was not natural beach sand. Where's the environmental study on that before it got dumped, right? What happened to that sand? Where'd it come from? Who paid for it? How many hours of county labor went into dumping that sand there that I personally had to dig out, right? How much did it cost the taxpayers to get that sand? How much did it cost in man hours of county labor to remove and then reinstall the showers that we pay for with our tax dollars? And again, what are we going to do to fix that nasty filled dirt muck sand that got filled in on that beach trail? Now we have another environmental catastrophe other than closing the beach off, right? We as the anglers and the surfers are the stewards of our beaches. We're the ones who go there with our kids, and I can show you pictures of me picking up 10 pounds of trash off of Jensen Beach with my 8-year-old and my 4-year-old son, right? We're the ones who take care of the beaches. We're the ones who take care of the county. It's the surfers, the fishermen, and the families. So please, this is our county. Please recognize that, and please recognize that your role is our servants. Thank you.
Molly Potter Thayer. Following Ms. Thayer will be Tom Pine. Good morning.
I too am going to address the PH 4 and 5 issue. When we love the place where we live, the small town feel that Martin County has been able to retain, why do we feel compelled to change it? Martin County is still a gem, no longer the hidden gem it once was, with its low-rise skyline and its neighborly vibe, comprised of citizens that care about its legacy. Changing our definition of rural density will be detrimental to all. If we wanted to live in a densely packed county of urban sprawl, we could find that readily in Dade or Broward or many other counties. But we didn't choose to live there for a reason. We chose to live in a place that feels safe, where nightly we can hear the call of the barred owl, where neighbors post photos of bobcats on Nextdoor. Those may feel like small transitory moments, but they are priceless. We can't place a value or a price on quality of life here in Martin County, or on the low crime rate, or the charm, or the majesties of open space and mature trees. They are all priceless. I ask that you retain what we have found here and keep it this way. Thank you.
Tom Pine, followed by Carol Ann Leonard.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Tom Pine. I live in Jensen Beach, Florida. I've been a resident of Martin County for nearly 50 years. Last year at one of the commission meetings, the setbacks along the river was eliminated. So pollution doesn't matter in the St. Lucie. Is that what it took the contractor in Rio to agree to that large project, the river setbacks? Just one more example of what happens. Once again, senior staff is bringing up another proposal to all but eliminate the Martin County Growth Management Plan. One might ask why. 2 Martin County commissioners have been chomping at the bit to develop Western Martin County for the few years I've been attending these meetings, consistently chipping away, meeting by meeting. I can only assume that process was just too slow to suit them, so they asked senior staff to find faster ways. And here we are for a second month in a row now fighting Martin County we love. One member of senior staff spoke with a close friend of mine and suggested that we, the residents of Martin County, wanted all buildings stopped. There's nothing further from the truth. What we want is for this commission to follow to the letter of the law, the Martin County Growth Management Plan, and stop altering it to suit the big money boys. Also at this meeting, I was told there will be a proposal to increase the sale tax in Martin County to buy land conservation. If this commission kicks these attacks on the comp plan down the road for another day, it will be just one more reason to vote no on any increase to our sales tax for any reason, since you can't be trusted to do what's right. Thank you for your time and have a nice day.
Carol Ann Leonard, followed by Kelly Virginia Reno, sorry. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Carol Ann Leonard from Stewart. I'm speaking for myself and others from the Martin County Democratic Environmental Caucus. We do not want you to pass PH4 Agenda Item 220527 and PH5 Agenda Item 220533. This is in regard to PH4. This excerpt taken from the full presentation shows exactly why we don't want the rural lifestyle future land use designation. It states, in order to be eligible for the rural lifestyle future land use designation, a minimum of 1,000 contiguous acres located within unincorporated Martin County and outside the primary urban service district is required. Approval of an amendment to the future land use map, changing the future land use designation on a specific parcel to rural lifestyle shall be required. Of course, 1,000 acres would be unincorporated agricultural lands outside the urban service boundary. We want the rural lands to be kept less developed, to be kept outside the urban service boundary according to the comp plan, I say with rare or no exceptions. By allowing one developer to use the rural lifestyle, you'll have all the others asking to do it despite your approval needed for each one. These are in regard to PH5. We need a workshop to go over the Becker Discovery Land at Atlantic Fields development. The public didn't have time to read the late posting of the changes. We haven't had a discussion on the issues. We can't discuss them at the LPA or commissioner meetings. There are differing accounts of what will be built in Atlantic Fields. Will there be dormitories for employees or not? They are allowed. 18 guest cottages for people playing golf at the private course are allowed. What's to be added to the stables donated by the Becker family to Atlantic Ridge Preserve State Park? Will the state really pay for the expense of differing proposals being suggested by Discovery Land? Supposedly, all this is to benefit the public. There are unacceptable accounts of what constitutes open spaces and density numbers. How will the public be able to attend any events within private Atlantic Fields? Will there be bathrooms or any other amenities? We can't be sure that Discovery Land will do all the things they say they will. Aren't they just writing things they think will entice us to pass their proposal? We do. We need to protect the environment and wetlands from pollutants from developments, preserve open spaces and habitat, keep the comprehensive plan with its urban service boundaries intact, and more. Atlantic Fields is not a self-contained community. They are going to have their own security, they say, but the sheriff's department could be needed. They won't have fire, ambulance service, and schools. You rave about the taxes you collect, but I don't think they'll be great. Are you going to use tax money to change the dangerous 2-lane bridge road to a 4-lane? Will tax money be needed for more assistance for fire, ambulance, and schools? Let's see. We don't need 317 overexpensive homes. Thank you.
Kelly Forgarino, please. Followed by Pauline Becker. Yes, sorry.
Hello, and thank you for listening. It's Kelly Fugarino. I know it's difficult. I have not lived here all my life, but I've lived many places in this great country. I cannot describe to you, this is a bad decision. Don't be bought. It will not work. You will regret it. My father once said to me, you have to look in the mirror every day. And if you appreciate who's looking back, then you're doing well. 32 years with AT&T, I've been all over America. Also, 5 years, the last 2 regretfully, as a United flight attendant. I visited many, many cities, towns across America. Honestly, this is the best place I've ever lived, and I swear to you that. And part of it is the feel of small town. We can develop, but you've got to do it the right way. Thanks again.
Following Ms. Becker is Ted Astolfi.
I have to wait while I put my glasses on. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm short. But I can't hear him, so, you know. Well, it's nice to see you again, Mr. Campy. Now, Mr. Campy and I have discussed this subject, but the rest of you haven't heard, so I feel I will share this with you. My name is Pauline Becker, and I live in Palm City, and I've been here 35 years. I heard all these people speaking, and I have a prepared speech. You asked me who gave me all this information and who shared what I brought to your attention. It was Maggie Horchella. And that's why I'm here. She was definitely against this. Say no to this black hole comprehensive change. This process will wreck the comp plan and make Martin County worse than Palm Beach and Dade County in terms of containing urban sprawl. Maggie Horchella said no, and she was an expert. The CPA leaves more questions and confusions than any land use change proposal ever, and it gives window dressing to hiding the huge loopholes and the detriments for residents and taxpayers. I was a terminal manager before I retired, and I handled financial analysis of businesses, communities for years, and I can analyze and good planning or this will wreck it. The language has gaps big enough for a Mack truck. It plops lots of unprecedented density out west on Aggie land. It runs county water and sewers helter-skelter out west, and it implies that there is no cost to sprawl because the villages will be self-contained and self-supporting. Will they be in padlocked walls? If you think you can fool the residents of Martin County for long, you can't. If you think they won't blame you when the roads are jammed and the tax entries come, they will blame you. If we want to live in Broward, we would have chose to live there. We chose to live here. And why would you need a sales tax increase? Okay, I guess my time is up, but you know to say no. Thank you.
Ted Astolfi, followed by Mike Glenn, please.
So I hope the crowd can behave themselves. So I'm here, I'm Ted Astolfi, I represent the Economic Council of Martin County. And I want you to know that we reviewed the Rural Lifestyle Land Use Amendment. We think it's an example of good planning by the county, thinking forward, as I suspected, thinking forward about the future of Martin County and how to protect our natural environment and the legacy of agriculture without just going to 1 unit per 20 acres. The Economic Council has a long history of participating on county land acquisition committees, supporting referendums to purchase environmental lands, and we've advocated for policies that actually protect agriculture. Developing a new land use that will allow agricultural land on large vacant parcels of over 1,000 acres to develop a portion of their property while preserving 70% for ag and open space is actually a commendable thought and land use in this community. I'm not going to go on and rebut some of the statements that were made, which I'd like to, but let me just say this new land use allows for properties to remain on the tax rolls by preserving large sections of open space and agricultural property. Thank you.
Folks, please, come on, folks, please. If you can't have decorum in here, then you can stand outside.
Glenn, good morning.
Good morning. My name's Mike Glenn. I live in Tropical Farms. Thank you, Ms. Hurd, for being my commissioner. Also, thank you for your kind, gracious, heartfelt, respectful words that you brought up to us and your fellow commissioners. It speaks volumes that you brought it up. Ms. Scott, thank you for 365 days of word of the day. I got a lot of Googling to do.
Sir, you have to approach the board, thank you.
But I know what they meant. It means you guys got an opportunity to do something good for the county and for Martin County and for the people of Martin County. I urge you to say no to the amendment to the comp plan that's presented. I think you've heard many people say no to it. I love agriculture. I've worked in agriculture all my life. I eat agriculture every day. We need agriculture. We don't need rooftops. The economic gain from rooftops is why every county in the state of Florida, and I'd surmise every county in the country, is broke. Development has never paid for itself. It might today. It doesn't tomorrow. The bean counters in Martin County can tell you that because they got no money to put a trash can in a park. It's childish to me for somebody to say that this is going to pay for itself and increase our revenue. It changes our quality of life. That's it. There's a beautiful ag preserve down in Palm Beach County. Anybody see it? They got big brown signs. Welcome to the ag preserve. It's followed by barrel tile roofs, 10 feet apart. They don't grow beans and tomatoes there hardly at all. That's what agriculture is, not rooftops. Do something historic. We had a lady just pass away Saturday. She did something historic. That's why I moved here from Dade County 20 years ago. That's why everybody else moved here for the quality of life. Mr. Jenkins, I know you work in agriculture all your life too. You're
You
out.
have to approach the board, thank you.
Pardon me?
The board as the whole, please.
Okay. Some of you all have worked in agriculture all your life. And some of you represent the western lands. Let's preserve agriculture. Let's grow stuff. Thank you.
Jackie Transinger, followed by Constance Merriweather, Manweather.
Good morning. I've been listening very carefully. You're all in very big trouble. The Discovery PUD and the rural lifestyle change affect 180,000 acres of agricultural land west of town. It affects everyone in the county. It will make our urban boundary meaningless. Sewer and water will be allowed everywhere. Maggie told me this, so I know it is the truth. There will be suburban homes, golf courses, stores, worker dormitories, clubhouses, an event center. all the way out to the lake with a potential for 27,000, not 9,000 units, and a potential of 60,000 more people. These people will need service, fire, sheriffs, and eventually schools. Maggie told me this, so I know it is the truth. Given these incentives, the price of Laurel land will accelerate upward, will become impossible to purchase public land for our environmental restoration projects. Maggie told me this, so I know it is the truth. An increase in sales tax to buy public land becomes a very foolish proposal in light of all this that you want to do out there. On February 6th, Maggie wrote that this would be the most dramatic change to the comp plan since 1982, and at the very least, you people should have allowed the public to have a series of open meetings, workshops, where they could have their concerns answered and their questions. Maggie planned to be here today protesting with us. My heart is aching today. But as Sarah pointed out, Maggie was a great teacher, and she taught us well, and we will carry on, and we will defeat these foolish, ugly plans that you want for our western lands.
Constance, Merriwing? Constance?
Morning.
Good morning.
Constance Mainwaring, and I live in Stewart. And really, I have one thing to say about the proposed comprehensive plan. Don't do it. No.
Kara Grace Musa? Kara Grace? Followed by Aaron LaRocca, please. Eureka.
Morning. Hi, good morning. I'm Kara Grace Muzia. This is my daughter, and this is my mama. We all live in Martin County. Mom lives in Palm City, where I grew up, and I live in Stewart. So I have a question for the commissioners. Why did you originally move to Martin County? It wasn't for the big city, not a sprawling metropolis like Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County have become. People live here because it's quaint, it's small town. Any growth, like the one with this proposed rural lifestyle zoning change, will have impacts on our traffic, first responders, and waterways, including the St. Lucie River and the Indian River Lagoon. I chose to raise my family here where I grew up because I love the community feel we have. Let's learn lessons from West Boca, keep the qualities that we love about our county, and keep Martin special. You, our elected officials, have the power to do this. Your vote affects us all. Your vote impacts the people such as myself raising families here in Martin County who don't have the availability to go to these planning committee meetings, and we didn't have the chance to speak at any open houses or open events with public comment. But you can make an impact today by voting against this. So please do that. Please do that. Thank you.
Aaron LaRocca, followed by Linda Fithian. Aaron, are you out here? Yes, Aaron. Yep, please. And following Aaron will be Linda Fithian. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you back there.
Sorry.
Good morning. Thank you all for hearing again. I'm also here to request that you vote no. I applaud those of you who have already in the past voted for no. I never had the honor of meeting Maggie, but I do have the privilege of living in the neighborhood where there's a park dedicated to her, and I frequent that park daily with my daughter. My husband and I, we moved here 9 years ago from Mexico, and the job that we accepted had us placed in Miami. It wasn't but a millisecond before we both looked at each other and said, we absolutely will not live in Miami or Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach. We had both frequented, visited Stewart, and it's just so enchanting and unique and beautiful here. And the quality of life that we have here, you can't find anywhere else. I too have lived in many, many states in the United States. I've also lived in several different countries. Nothing offers a quality of life like Stewart does. So please don't mess with the comp plan. It's there. It was written with thorough thought and foresight, and that needs to be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Linda Fithian, followed by Jack Beal. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing me. My name is Linda Fithian, and I live in Palm City. And my husband and I have owned our home there for 12 years. And I also am saying, please say no today to this change in the comp plan. I don't think that all of the residents have had the ability to understand how these changes will truly affect the county. And I don't think that any of you really want the citizens to be unhappy with decisions that you make. I think that you all were elected to, when you were elected, the comp plan was in place and you agreed to go by the comp plan. So changing it, and this is a pretty dramatic change because there's a lot of acreage out west. I am personally not opposed to development, but I think that we need to slow it down, especially over the last 2 years when everybody has been hit so hard with all the COVID and myriad other things that are going on. Families have not had time to really look at, okay, what's going on with the Martin County plan that's going to change things for them. So I again ask you to please reconsider this. I do ask you to please make some workshops available, put some maps out there to show us exactly what this is. And perhaps you already have that online, but a lot of people don't have time to keep searching through websites to see exactly what's going on. So I really ask you to put this to the side, to give more time, and give some workshops, make some maps, let us truly understand what this is going to do for our county. And I know you all live here because you love the county, and so do we. And we just want good, safe changes. And when developers buy land, they buy it with the zoning that's already in place. And then they ask you to change the zoning so they can make what they want to make. Okay, but how's that going to affect the residents that already live here? And there's a lot of projects that are underway right now in both Palm City and Stewart, recognizing that this committee doesn't have anything to do with the Stewart development, but the roads are really being impacted by the development that's currently going on. So I thank you for listening to me, and I hope that you really will consider what all of these residents are saying, that, gee, put a brake on, give us a chance to look at what you're really trying to do here, and maybe we can come up with something that will be good for both sides. Maybe it can be a win-win. I know that some of the agricultural land, I just want to say this one more thing, is laid waste because the citrus crops are not doing well here. I mean, so I understand that the landowners are having problems with the agriculture. Maybe we just need to take some time to see what other kind of agriculture can be done. Thank you. Thank you.
Jack Beal. Following Mr. Beal is Mr. Whitman.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jack Beal. I live in Stewart. I've lived in Palm City and Stewart for the last 18 years. I really can't add to much that's already been said very eloquently by, I too wish you would not vote for against the comprehensive plan. These public hearings are great. Everybody gets a chance to say what's on their mind. I think it's a little unfair that we don't get the chance to hear from you. I personally would like to know what informs your desire to pass these laws and change the comp plan. And I would really encourage the commission to set up a workshop so we can have some dialogue and perhaps come to an agreement that benefits and both sides can get something out of it. So thank you for your time.
Sir. Jeff Whitman, followed by Joanne Swan. Jeff?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Whitman. First of all, I am so sad about Maggie, her passing. She was my mentor and my inspiration, and I miss her dearly. My love and prayers go out to her family. February is Black History Month, and there are two pillars of the black community that I want to remember today. And the first one is Reverend Lewis Preston. Most people know about the Black Cemetery at the end of Kingsley Street in Hope Sound, but most people don't know there's a church there. Reverend Preston, that was his church. Parishioners had to park on Dixie Highway and walk across the railroad tracks to worship. Arsonists burned the church down in the early 1970s, and when he tried to rebuild it, the county wouldn't let him. He was oppressed and discriminated against, yet he was never bitter or angry. He ran for the county commission at a time when the Klan was bombing civil rights leaders' houses just up the coast in Oak Hill. He always returned hate with love. He also married me and my wife almost 40 years ago in an AME church in East Stewart with Reverend Faye Scott. I miss him greatly. He was a great community leader in Hope Sound, and I miss him greatly. The second one is Mr. Tommy Fair. And on November 2nd, 1924, an engineer with the FEC Railroad threw out a brick. And on the brick, it had a note saying that the Ashley gang had been killed at the Sebastian Bridge the night before. And a young boy ran out and got that brick. And that young boy was Tommy Fair. He was my best friend. He was one of the nicest people I've ever met. He was born in 1908 and died in 2008. Almost, lived to be just shy of 100 years old. I would sit with him for hours with his little dog Penny, and he would tell me stories about old Martin County and the Ashley gang. And if you want to hear those stories about the Ashley gang, you're going to have to go to the Elliott Museum and listen to the videos. But he was an amazing man. And in conclusion, I just want to say this county wouldn't be what it is today without Maggie. Thank you so much.
Joanne Swan, please, followed by Robin Cartwright. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting us be here today. Everything has been said that I wish to say, but I do urge you to reject.
Ma'am, can you pull the mic down just a little bit? Thank you.
I urge you to reject PH4 and PH5, which are the changes to the comp plan and rural lifestyle designation. This rezone item is too important to be shoved through quickly, as it has a potential to affect the whole of Martin County. There are already at least 1,000 building permits on the books in the process of development, plus over 800 units in the city. Are you looking to pave over all our green areas and massive traffic jams? Almost a month ago, the citizens of this county petitioned you en masse regarding the removal of Chapter 2 in the comp plan. And it was concluded by the council that any major changes need more thought and review, including citizen input. This is not happening today, and we expect more from our elected officials. Thank you.
Robin Cartwright, followed by Renee Lessard. Good morning.
Good morning. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Much like the City of Stuart Commissioners, this Board of County Commissioners has taken it upon themselves to cater to those who can afford to change the comp plan instead of honoring the existing comp plan, which was created to preserve our community from this kind of overreach. Now, we remind you as to what makes this community unique and great and why people move here. Every time the county or city approves such a drastic measure, we have to question who benefits. The proposed change to the comprehensive plan does not benefit the environment nor the animals who inhabit it. It does not benefit those of us who live here. It does not benefit our overpopulated schools. It does not benefit our already overburdened roadways, nor does it alleviate traffic. It doesn't create any true sustainability for our community. It does not benefit those of us who live here, and we have to ask why the commission sees this change as a benefit. I'm sure most people remember those JD Power polls that they used to do, where a third party would call you and they would ask you, was it easy to do business, and did your problem get resolved? So pretend we're going to get that call and make it easy for us to do business. Explain to us the benefit to us as a community. If you cannot, then it stands to reason that this change is beyond the scope of what is allowed and what should be permitted. We already know that you've probably already made up your mind about voting for this absurd comp plan change, and there are many people speaking today who can speak considerably more eloquently as to why this is a bad idea. So whether you listen or not is another story, but I will remind you it is not your job to make the developers money nor a profit. It is your job to work for us as a community. So instead of me trying to make any attempt to share with you the things that you already know, let me ask you, what is the benefit to our community? Please provide to us the rationale as to how this makes an attempt to preserve the environment. Please provide to us your rationale as to how this will better our quality of life. Please share with us the benefit that this has to our community as a whole and not to the select few who will be able to build golf courses and house their employees on their property. It's too bad that those JD Power questionnaires don't exist for our local government officials. Our only resolution to addressing the city's or the county's lack of ability to satisfy us is when we vote. Much like the City of Stuart, Martin County is positioning itself as the champion of the wealthy few instead of the majority of us who live here year-round and vote.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. While browsing through the internet the other day, I was looking for articles pertaining to Martin County from years ago when I first moved here, and I found a Palm Beach relocation guide.com by Anthony. It said, it was entitled, About Martin County, Florida, and I quote, as you travel over the county line, you'll soon recognize the Martin County difference. And note the fact that there are no buildings over 4 stories. The community has a deep connection to water and the natural resources sustained by it. The natural beauty and attractions here are a treasure trove. There's a treasure trove of activities. As a Martin County resident for 22 years, I insist that you refrain from changing our existing comp plan to appease big builders and profiteers. We have a good plan, and we've had good results from it over the years. Why lower our standards now? In the year 2000, the saying in Martin County was, Martin County, it's different here. Let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Melissa Burke, followed by Donald Barnes. Good morning.
Good morning. No fancy speech. I'm going to speak from my heart because I feel like you've heard the same environmentalist over and over I've heard. So I'm going to tell a story about my kids and why we moved here. I raise a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old in Martin County. We live in Rocky Point. And they've lost summers here because of water quality. We've traveled to get away from it here, and fortunate to have family up north and traveled. Actually, we traveled to Lake Erie and saw the same green algae up there as down here. So my kids saw it in one summer in 2 different locations. So let's fast forward to my 15-year-old. He's sitting out at South Fork today in the CTE program for ag science, so he can change the way we farm, the way we dump chemicals in our yards, the way turf is grown here, the way the golf courses, baseball fields, everything. But we started our own house with accountability. This is what it looks like for us. We soak banana peels in water to fertilize our yard. I use old coffee grounds. This is the stuff I'm learning from him that he's learning at South Fork CTE program. So why is it important to protect our comp plan today? I want to see my 15-year-old and 10-year-old grow up in Martin County, similar to what I've seen. My family moved here when Cove Road did not go out to Canner Highway. I live in Rocky Point on Major Way. It was not a through street when my family first moved into Rocky Point. So I built and bought in the urban service boundaries. I understood what it meant. I am a graduate of your CARES program. I've taken the time to learn what the comp plan is and what it means. I'm asking you today to protect it, to vote no. Think about my kids today. I want them to live here and enjoy what's been protected with our current comp plan. It looks so different to me at 47 to drive out to South Fork to pick up my kids compared to what it looked like when my teenagers or my cousins graduated in the late 80s. It's real different. So another note, as Maggie's neighbor, I come here today to speak on her behalf to say no. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no need. Let's vote no today. And a little tidbit on what our water quality looked like yesterday. I took a paddle in the Narrows across from Rocky Point. It was crystal clear. It's taken years to see it crystal clear across there. And that is because of some of the protections that you guys have worked for to keep our water clean. So think about what you've done and how you have protected this area with the water. And we have had good summers. So maybe think about my kids today and put all those environmentalists that you mentioned out of your head and think about the next generation that's coming. Thanks.
Thank you. Donald Barnes. Following Mr. Barnes is Kathleen Say. Thank you for the parentheses around SAY.
Hey, good morning. Donald Barnes here. Just don't let this accent fool you. I've been here local since 1992, so a little, pushing 30 years. I guess I'll go ahead and just snatch the bandage off for everybody. I'm a big fan of the comp plan amendment. I think it's long overdue. I spent a fair amount of time reviewing the submittal. I think it's of high quality. I know the family that owns the land, also high quality, but I've been farming out there for 60 plus years. So again, just a big fan of the submittal. I think it's long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Say. And my last speaker I have, and I have some more speaker forms that indicated on their speaker form that they wanted to speak during the public hearing. I'll go through your name just in case you change your mind and want to go through now. But I have one more following this. Anybody else following this, please get us a speaker form. Kathleen, good morning.
Good morning. I was born in Miami. I grew up in Miami. I left Miami for reasons that you probably can all recognize. I didn't want to live in Fort Lauderdale. I've lived in Martin County for the past 30 years. I vote always for environmental protection because I've seen what happens in the counties south of here. It's not a pretty thing. I know that the development down in Dade has breached the expressways extremely to the west. The water quality there is abysmal. I don't want to see that happen here where I live. This is my home. I've been here for 30 years. And I got to tell you guys something. This feels like a power play by people who can actually wield the power, and you're making decisions for people that are going to be affected by it without having a voice in what's going to actually happen. When you're handing down a bad plan that's going to affect people and their way of life, you need to really think about it. Every time I go out, I get in the car and I drive around. COVID is behind us, so I can get out now. But every time I go down Cantor Highway, go down Martin Highway, I live in Palm City, everywhere I look, the bulldozers are scraping the land down without any regard to the wildlife that lives there, without any regard to what's going to go in there, that it's going to affect the climate, for one thing. You're going to pave it over. You're paving paradise here. The thing that is really important at this particular point in time, in my opinion, is that all of you were elected because you expressed that you wanted to support the comprehensive plan. And now you're sitting here today without any kind of a public forum to just come back and support the developers that want to make money on the backs of the people that have lived here forever. I think that's wrong, and I encourage you to not do what you're talking about doing. Thank you.
Ma'am. Drew Martin, followed by Bob Matheson. And Bob is the last public speaker form I have. Again, I'll ask for the last time, anybody that has a speaker form that wants to come up, or if anybody hasn't filled one out, I'll go through the names again of those who indicated that they wanted to speak during the public hearing. Also, for those who've already spoke, you can't take two bites at the apple. So those that either can't stay or have already spoke won't get a second shot at the public hearing. Mr. Martin, good morning.
Yes, Drew Martin. I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club, and we're here to oppose the changes in the comprehensive plan. And we have many members in Martin, St. Lucie County. We're the Loxahatchee Group, and we represent all three of the counties. And I really, when I drive and I hit the border from Martin County, and you really can tell the difference. And I think that's what makes people want to live here, is they want to have a county that's not developed as much as Broward, Palm Beach. And we see this happening everywhere. In Palm Beach County, we see attempts again to build on the agriculture land down there, which we're opposing. And I think that Florida is forgetting that agriculture is an important part of the economy. You have enough building already. And you, as the lady said, and I can certainly attest to that, when I drive up Cantor Highway, it's a beehive of development. So I think you have enough. And I think you need to stick with your comprehensive plan. I think that's what Maggie Hercella would say if she was here today. Stick with the comprehensive plan. You don't need to make this change. You can continue to have the way of life that you want to have. And that's why people live here. That's why Martin County is such a beautiful place. So please, do not make this change. Stick with the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Bob Matheson, please. And
Morning, Commissioners. Ms. Krista.
Morning.
Morning, Sarah. I'd first ask the chairman to give me another minute or two. I have a lot to say. I'll try and make it as brief as I can, but I think it would encourage if you'd change your whole rules about public speaking. It would be a better democracy if you'd let people speak. You're public servants, and I think it would be wise of you to encourage democracy, encourage better government. Usually you have no one here for this stuff. So hopefully you'll give that some thought. My name's Bob Matheson. I think I said I'm a bit nervous because I wasn't brought up to tout my perspective and my family heritage. But firstly, I'd like to ask you to forgive your criticism and the sarcasm, some of which you've heard this morning. I used to be that way, but I haven't appeared in front of the County Commission for decades. I hold a real estate license and I hold a law license for more decades than I care to tell you, and for the same length of time. It's been that long since I've served on your LPA. My family has a history in South Florida, and that somewhat warps my perspective. my great-grandfather took a guy in a seaplane over the Everglades, which is now Everglades National Park, in the 1920s. They named the visitor center after that guy. My great-grandfather flew over the park and said, make this a park. It took over 2 decades to make it a park. I don't think it became a park till '49. My family's had as much as any family to do with the creation of parks, either by donation or political activism in South Florida. I won't go on about the number of them, but there's state parks, national parks, and county parks. My father ran as a county commissioner to stop an oil refinery on Biscayne Bay in the early 1960s. He never said anything bad about his opponent. The Miami Herald had already rezoned the land for the oil refinery. They were going to dig across the bay to dig a channel right through Stiltsville. It was proposed and being developed by the wealthiest guy in the world, supposedly at the time. His name was Ludwig. He was a Greek shipping tycoon. The Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Council were for it, of course, as was the Miami Herald. My father won overwhelmingly. The county commission actually took a bold step and rezoned the land back to prevent the oil refinery. I wasn't raised to drop names, and as I said, I'm embarrassed to do so, but 4 generations of my family, including me, knew personally Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. My grandfather used to party with her in the 1920s. I think you all know that all the data, all the science is that we
Your
shouldn't.
time's up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Jackie Thurlow-Lippisch?
Can I finish my sentence, Commissioner?
No, Bob, your time's up. Thank
I
you.
can't finish my sentence?
Bob, everybody gets 3 minutes. Jackie, please. Followed by Jim Fithian.
Hello, Honorable Chair and Commissioners. I'm Jackie Thurlow-Lippisch, and I have lived in Stewart and Martin County and Souls Point my entire life. And when I was a little girl, growing up in St. Lucie Estates, right behind where we are right now, the scrub jays used to come and take peanuts out of our hands, which are probably illegal now. But it was really an incredible time. And I remember as a young girl, very young, as the development came in just in this area around East Ocean Boulevard, everyone was fighting for the scrub jays so that they would have something left. And everyone promised, the developers, that when it was all over, there would still be habitat left for the scrub jays. Over time and years, people forgot about the scrub jays. Today, there are no scrub jays in this area. And the bottom line is, once the land is gone, it's gone. That I know you're under a terrible amount of pressure and that you're trying to do the right thing. I just ask you today to think about the scrub jays and how sometimes we think that we're saving something by what we're doing, but those who follow us just destroy it. And so it's really important that we are always thinking of saving what we can. Thank you for your work, and good luck.
Last speaker I have, and then I'll go through the agenda item speakers just to make sure, is Jim Fithian.
My name is Jim Fithian. I live in Palm City, owned our home for 12 years, love living here. But I have to say, one of the things I think all of us, including the commissioners, have noted is the traffic. Traffic is outrageous right now. When you have to sit at a light at the corner of Canner and US 1 and wait for 3 changes for that light to get through, even in the middle of the day, not during work traffic, either in the morning or at night, because I avoid it then, 3 times. What I'm also noting is that people are blowing through red lights, and I address this to the sheriffs because I would love to see police actively, because these are people are going to get killed because people are so upset with having to wait, and not an excuse because it's terrible, but they're blowing through these red lights left and right on US 1 now because our roads are overwhelmed. And what's going to take place out west is only going to add to the problem. And unless our infrastructure is improved and increased where people can get around, all that's going to do is add to the problem significantly, because the people are whatever is going on over there, and I'm not that familiar with it, but I have become familiar with listening to the good people here today. So what I'm saying is I'm here just from a traffic standpoint. It's become outrageous, and not just during season, it's even during the summer. So the Costco's going in. I love Costco. When my wife says, let's go to the store, if it's Costco, I'm going. We drive down all the way to North Lake, okay? So now they're putting the Costco there. Fine, I love Costco. But guess what? Can't handle it. And I don't know how they're going to widen it, because you have the high school there, you have all the people are going to be coming off 95 in the Turnpike to get to Costco because they don't want to drive down south. So can't handle it now. It's already tremendously jammed, and doing what's going to be happening on the other side of the bridge is only going to add to that. And our infrastructure can't handle it. So I'd like you to consider that. And I'd like to see the sheriffs, who I admire and respect greatly, really talk about what do we need to do to keep people from blowing through these red lights, because that is a terrible accident waiting to happen. And no one should have to go see the consequences of that. When you're sitting at a light, just watch what's happening. It's not yellow lights anymore. It's red lights, and they're just blowing through them. It's terrible. And whenever my family or relatives come down, I say, look, do not go when the light turns green. Wait about 10 seconds and look in both directions, because those cars are flying. So this is only going to add to that. So infrastructure can't even handle the proposals as to what's going to happen west of the bridge. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we are a little bit past our 10:30 closed captioning break. I'll go through the names that indicated that they want to speak at the public hearing. Beverly Halstead. Is it Halstead? Do you want to speak at the public hearing? Okay. Donna Melzer, public hearing. Joan Bausch, public hearing. Paul Owens, public hearing. Tyson Waters, public hearing, I assume so. Mary Straczynski. You want to speak now? It's up to you. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to take that item up first on the agenda. You'll do it during the agenda? Okay. John Dial, is it Dial? During the agenda? Sure, come on up, please. Jim Moyer, agenda. And Beverly Halstead, agenda or now? Oh, okay, sorry, did you have two in there?
You just have one more.
Okay, Eve Samples, you want to do it during the public hearing? Okay. And I think that's all that I had. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank the Commission for allowing me the time to come up here. My name is John Dial. I live in Rocky Point. And I never came to a Commission meeting before because I never thought I had to. I've lived here for many, many years, and it was quite enlightening and quite educational being here, because some of these things that were brought up, I happen to know these guys that are going for these variances. Worked in the boating industry for 40 years. Try to get a slip here. It's a 2-year wait, right? Overdevelopment doesn't work. I came here from Hilton Head Island, which is probably one of the best planned developments there are. Please don't break the comp plan. It works. We all know that. And I came in with developers, and guess what? I was taught that Maggie was the enemy, right? Well, she wasn't. It took me a lot of years to figure it out, and you guys actually bought a piece of property I put into the Maggie's Hammock Park at cost. I could have developed that. I could have developed that and made $1 million, right? But I put my money where my mouth is. I put that back in where it should have gone. Overdevelopment with these guys out there, and if you don't know them, you should go to their developments and see what they've done. Go to Abaco. Go to Mountaintop. Go to Gaza Ranch. Go to these places and see what happens. They start off being inclusive for the public, and they don't. And if you haven't been there, you need to go. I know these guys. Know them personally. Been on a boat with them. Seen the deals cut on the back deals of the boats for development over the years. 40 years of working for real estate developers as a yacht captain. I know what they say, and I know what they do. And you know, please don't sell us out. The beauty of Martin County is you meet people that are from here, right? They're not from someplace else that moved here. They grew up here, their families grew up here, and that's what makes a difference. And you can make a difference. Every single one of you can. Don't make me move and rent an apartment in your district and run against you. You know? I will, and I'll beat you. Right? I don't want to do it. I don't want to be here. Right? I don't want to be here. You guys have done a great job. Keep doing a great job. But if I have to rent an apartment, I will. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 5 minutes to 11. Layla, are you on? Okay, everybody, if you'll take your seat, we will reconvene the meeting. We are going to take up item, which one was it?
After he introduces us. After he introduces, I'll say something.
We will take up item 4, I'm sorry, public hearing 4 first, right, correct? Which is legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of the comprehensive plan amendment CPA 21 Becker B14 text. Mr. Doolin, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Smith and members of the board. My name is Clyde Doolin. I'm the Comprehensive Planning Administrator with Martin County Growth Management. With me is the Department Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. Paul Schelling, Growth Management Director. I would like to begin this morning, and a couple things here, a couple points I wanted to get on the record. I'd like to begin by clarifying some points regarding this application as to what this is not and what this does. And hopefully this alleviates some of the concerns we have received by way of public comment. So what this is not is urban development. This is not a burden on the existing taxpayers. This is less expensive for the developer and for the purchaser. Going to be embraced by the national home buildings. Now remember, this is not, so I'll start over. This is not urban development. This is not a burden on existing taxpayers. This is not less expensive for the developer and for the purchaser. This is not going to be embraced by the national home builders. This is not possible without a future land use map amendment on each of the 1,000 acre plus sites. So the next item would be what it, I'm sorry, could you turn that, Clyde?
What it does.
Yeah, let me see. What this does is it preserves large tracts of open space. It does pay for itself many times over. It does cost more for the developer and the purchaser other than other development. It does serve a small population of niche customers. And it does, again, require a future land use map amendment on each of the 1,000 acre plus sites. So I'd like to turn it over to Clyde, who'll go through the process and where we go from today's hearing.
Okay, Clyde, before you start, Clyde will introduce the item to us and go through your presentation, staff's presentation. We will follow that up. We have 10 or 12 or so public comment cards. We'll follow up staff's presentation with public comment, and then we will come back for the board to deliberate. And we'll have the applicant's presentation in between all that. Sorry. Mr. Doolin, good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to touch on a couple things about process. The first public hearing for this was January 20 before the local planning agency. This is the second public hearing today, February 22. This is not the adoption. This is not the final decision. If the board opts to transmit this amendment, it will go off to Tallahassee, to various state agencies, to surrounding governments and jurisdictions. It will come back for an adoption hearing at a date to be determined. So this is not the adoption hearing. This is not the final discussion or presentation on it. If adopted, ultimately, the proposed text amendment creates a new future land use designation. It does not assign it to any property anywhere in Martin County. That would require a separate series of public hearings. A future land use map amendment must be approved for the assignment of the rural lifestyle future land use designation on any property in unincorporated Martin County. That also requires 3 legislative public hearings: presentation before the local planning agency, presentation before the Board of County Commissioners for a transmittal hearing, and then a final adoption hearing after that. If the text amendment is assigned to a piece of property, it then has to go through a planned unit development application. A planned unit development zoning and development agreement is not at all a guaranteed approval. It has to be presented to the local planning agency for their recommendation, and then it has to be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for adoption. We haven't had any of those hearings yet. there is no guarantee a planned unit development will be approved and the board will agree with the client or the applicant. Yes, sir.
Just pause there for a second, just so everybody's clear, Clyde. So if this were to advance, it goes through the process you first described. It would go through us. It would be transmitted to the state. The state and the agencies do their review, and then that comes back to us for final adoption. That's that. If an applicant chooses to use that land use designation, they will as well have to go through a comprehensive plan amendment process as well?
Correct.
So that is, again, back through the LPA, back through the county commission, up to the state for review, the state agencies, and then back to the county commission for adoption if that is what is to happen.
Correct.
That's just the comprehensive plan component of all of this.
Yes, and those are legislative public hearings. They are not, the board is not required to adopt a future land use, the assignment of a future land use designation on a property anywhere in Martin County.
And following that, which was the last part of what you just said, is the PUD process. And just walk everybody through again one more time what that involves. So you have two pieces of structure that would have to occur from today to an applicant actually applying for a land use change, correct?
Yes.
Then you have what?
The planned unit development application has to be filed. Staff generates a staff report, and it's presented to the local planning agency for their recommendation. Following a local planning agency recommendation, it's brought to the Board of County Commissioners for adoption.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to make sure, for those that aren't overly familiar with how this process works and what's involved from A to W, if you will, somewhere down the alphabet, there is a significant length of process in between where we are today and where an applicant would actually have the ability to move forward.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, discussing the specifics of the text amendment, there is a supplemental memo in your package for item public hearing 4. We worked with this text and with the applicant and revised it substantially from the local planning agency to your draft agenda item going out. That text is identified with a gray highlight in a staff report attached behind this supplemental memo. Additional changes that were made as a part of this supplemental are shown with a teal highlight in the text of the staff report. Also attached behind the supplemental memo is data and analysis that is necessary for these legislative public hearings, these fairly debatable discussions. There are excerpts from 2 studies that were conducted by the Board of County Commissioners in 2002 and 2006. There's a fiscal impact analysis that was prepared by the applicant's consultant and is a requirement of the PUD application we were just discussing. And the applicant has provided excerpts from chapters from a model code published by the American Planning Association. I won't go into all of the details of this supplemental unless you would like to go back to it. I'll instead go forward with the staff report attached behind the supplemental and discuss with you the particulars of the rural lifestyle future land use designation. It requires a minimum 1,000 contiguous acres, a minimum 70% open space within that 1,000 acres. There is an option to develop at a maximum of 1 unit per 20 acres. If the applicant chooses that option, there is no off-site open space, no ag easement or conservation easement necessary. If the applicant opts for a density higher than 1 unit per 20 acres, but less than 1 unit per 5 acres within the 1,000 acre area, they are required to provide additional off-site open space, either in the form of habitat or agricultural areas. The off-site open space would have the density removed, and they would be required to provide 1 acre off-site for every 2 acres of rural lifestyle designation. So to give you an example and describe for you what that looks like, if someone applies for the assignment of the rural lifestyle designation on 1,000 acres, and they want to do more than 1 unit per 20 acres, anything over 1 unit per 20 acres, they have to set aside another 500 acres outside that rural lifestyle future land use designation. The density is removed, and the So if you were doing that and you had 1,000 acres at 1 unit per 5 acres inside, you get a maximum of 200 units. But if you have that additional 500 acres outside, you have an effective density on 1,500 acres of 1 unit per 7.5 acres. So that is a lower density than allowed by our Ag Ranchette future land use designation effectively over the entire 1,500 acres.
Clyde, can you stop there for a second? You also said in your earlier comments that 700 acres would be required to be set aside within the 1,000 acres.
70%.
I'm sorry.
1,000 acres would have to be open space. That means it would have to be clear from ground to sky.
So that 70% with the additional 500 acres is in open space.
All of it.
So effectively, it's 1,200 acres.
Correct.
Thank you. Stacy, Commissioner Heatherington, sorry.
So the 70% is applicable to the off-site?
No, the 70% is applicable to the 1,000 acres that would receive the rural lifestyle future land use designation.
Okay.
Please continue.
So the off-site land would have to be protected under a conservation easement, and it would have to be conveyed, and that easement would have to be conveyed to at least one governmental agency or to a 501c3 conservation organization. Golf cottages are specified as a permitted use within this future land use designation. 1 golf cottage per hole would be allowed at a maximum. Dormitory housing would be permitted at 6 employees for every 100 acres. So if you have 1,000 acres, going back to my example, you have 30 employees. Correct? Thank you. Yeah, 30 employees maximum. However, for every 6 employees, the number of units, the 200 units I described, a unit is decreased for every 6 employees that are permitted in the dormitory housing. So the dormitory housing has an effect on the overall density that could be developed for single-family residential units. The extension of water and sewer is permitted to this future land use designation, but is not permitted beyond this future land use designation, and all costs...
Can I pause you there? I apologize.
Certainly.
Commissioner Campy.
Mr. Doolin, I apologize for interrupting, but I was trying to remember some of the pertinent questions that we heard this morning during public comment. And one of them was, how will you be able to verify how many employees are working at a specific site? And based on the acreage. But what you just said, and I wanted to clarify it, is dormitories that are set up, hotel room style apartments or whatever the case may be. If you built 30 of them, then you'll always be able to tell how many people are living on the property as employees. If the operation requires 150 people to work to be employed at a location, we're only talking about the employees that are physically sleeping or living on the property. And the way to figure out who they are is based on the physical units that exist, the construction of those units. So if a place had 200 employees, we're only concerned about the dormitory rooms, if you will, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Please.
Please,
Ma'am.
if you're going to speak out loud, we'll have to ask you to leave.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Mr. Chair, would you rather us ask questions as we go along or kind of contain them for continuity at the end?
If you can hold on to them, I think it would be helpful. Me included, have already interrupted Clyde's sort of train of thought, and I know he's probably done this 20 times in his head, but
Okay. Then.
let's try to, and I'm as much to blame, so I'm, Clyde, we'll try. But
Thank you.
If there's a burning desire, we may still interrupt.
Please. One of the things that you see highlighted in teal on the screen and was a change via the supplemental memo was to clarify and emphasize that there is no extension of utilities from the primary or secondary to the rural lifestyle that will go beyond the rural lifestyle. The lines cannot go outside that designation. They may go from the primary to this designation, but they cannot then be extended elsewhere throughout the agricultural areas of Martin County. And that's what this added text was put in here for. Also, it emphasizes, and I'll read this because I think it's important, all costs associated with the extension, ongoing service, and maintenance of utility services serving a specific parcel within the Rural Lifestyle Future Land Use Designation and a planned unit development zoning classification shall be paid by the planned unit development. And then the following additional requirements will also be applicable. The intent here is to differentiate the cost that may be borne by these people receiving this service from the cost that is borne by people in the urban service district. That one shall not be shared on the other, that this land use will pay for itself for the ongoing maintenance and use. Also permitted by this proposed text is the use of an advanced wastewater treatment system consisting of individual wastewater treatment units that treat the waste to secondary standards and must be permitted by state statute. Also, a municipal services taxing unit may be established on a rural lifestyle designation so that there is an additional redundancy or a way to make sure that the people receiving services in this property pay for their services and other members of the community do not. Then we get to the planned unit development. The policies in this plan text specify what some of the minimum requirements that the planned unit development zoning agreement must have in it. They include off-site biological and ecological impacts must be minimized, and beneficial practices must be used to encourage community farming and water and conservation. Enhanced water quality above minimum requirements, and Martin County requirements, I should say, are higher than state requirements already. So going above Martin County's minimums takes it even a step higher. And it's concerned with the discharge ultimately to the St. Lucie River, the Loxahatchee River, and the Indian River Lagoon, and minimizing any and all negative impacts to those water bodies. The PUD zoning agreement shall require the perpetual maintenance and management of the off-site lands encumbered by the agricultural easement. That way, not only would the public entity having the easement recorded in their favor, or the 501c3 having the easement recorded in their favor, but the PUD, the folks who live in the rural lifestyle designation, would also be responsible for the financial cost of the maintenance and management of that off-site area encumbered by the easement. Additional requirements are basics that we factor into all our PUDs: compatibility with adjacent uses, fostering healthy lifestyles, minimize greenhouse gas, provide self-supporting project elements such as first aid, private security, recreational amenities within the property, so that there's a minimum need of impacting any of those facilities outside. And it's also, they are required by this plan text and to required in their PUD to provide private or public recreational uses and events that complement and support the rural agricultural lifestyle. The rest of the changes that are discussed in the staff report really emphasize ensuring internal consistency with other elements of the plan. This basically covers the particulars of just the text amendment to to create a rural lifestyle designation. The discussion of assigning the designation to a specific property will be the subject of Public Hearing 5. To recap, this land use designation may be used to preserve large tracts of land in agricultural areas. It may be used to assign only to a site after a legislative decision by the Board of County Commissioners, and it must be implemented through a PUD agreement that must be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you, and that concludes staff's presentation. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Commissioners? Commissioner Heatherington.
I'll go through from the beginning. On the open space requirement, which I'm looking at a document that's prior to the supplemental, so if I tell you the wrong page, number 2, is there any requirement that it be open the open space, are we using that per our comp plan definition, or is there any requirement that some of that be public open space?
We are using the comp plan definition that has been on the books for many years. It describes open space as clear from ground to sky. We are not requiring any public access, although that may be a public benefit that is included in a planned unit development agreement.
The off-site open spaces in addition to the public. On the off-site open space, it shall be encumbered by a conservation or ag easement it could be conveyed to a governmental or nonprofit.
Correct.
I think it would be more protected if it could be conveyed to someone other than only a governmental agency. So what kind of assurance do we have in place there, or what kind of better assurances can we put in place that it's conveyed and kept as an easement forever?
Well, it's a recorded document that's recorded in the public records after it's created. You could ask us to revise this language to require additional, that it be conveyed to additional entities. However, there are pros and cons in these decisions and in these choices. You could have a circumstance at the end of the line where a private conservation group doesn't want to be responsible. So it would be a difficult situation after going through the future land use map amendment, the future land use map amendment, a PUD agreement, and then get to the end of the line, and they are unable to find a conservation group that will take it on. It may be too small a property or may not be within their realm.
Governmental entity may not want to take it on either.
That's true.
But there's more assurance, I think, if we could tighten that language up. That doesn't give me a lot of assurance. Golf cottages. What's the definition of a golf cottage that we're using for this?
We have a definition in the land development regulations. It was developed previously. The golf cottages in the past are and as described herein in this text, are an accessory to the golf course. They are not residential units that would be inhabited or could be inhabited 24/7, 365. They are not rentals also. That's been reported incorrectly in another venue, but they are just an accessory to the golf course for temporary usage.
So they're not rentals?
Just in there. Do we have any examples of that, existing examples?
I believe the Groves 23 is a private golf course that has some. I think also the Medalist Club is a private club that has some golf cottages which are not considered residential units and are not inhabited year-round.
And the Floridian, you said? Is that same?
Yes, sir. Floridian. The Floridian Club has multiple cottages on site, as well as, I believe, the MacArthur Club.
So MacArthur and Medalist have been there for how long? 30 years?
The Medalist has been there at least since the mid-1990s, yes.
Thank you. I didn't mean to just...
So they do not count as an accessory. They are an accessory dwelling. They do not count towards your density. Is that
That's correct.
So it's one golf cottage per hole?
Correct.
So assuming on a 1,000-acre parcel, then how many golf courses could go perhaps on a...
Well, Commissioner, bear in mind that 70% is going to start out as open space, so...
but are golf cottages included in that open space?
No, they are not, but a golf course is, so... We would do that analysis as part of the PUD application, so then we'd have the geometry of the site. But to answer your question, the golf cottages would be one per hole. So if there's two 18-hole courses, you'd have 36 golf cottages.
I'm not so much of a golfer, I must admit. So can you put 5 golf courses on 1,000 acres? Can you put 2?
I'd probably let the applicant speak to some of that, but I can tell you that a golf course is several hundred acres generally.
So it looks like you've made some amendments to the Advanced Wastewater Treatment Center in your supplemental memo.
Correct.
Can you explain me the difference in the revised memo?
Well, as the staff analysis refers, the LPA presentation had language that referred to an advanced treatment plant as defined in Chapter 2. However, we went back, reviewed the Chapter 2 definition, discussed it with the utility staff, and decided that that definition didn't fit very well. So instead, we crafted new language for Paren C that described an advanced wastewater treatment system. There are proprietary systems out there, but we are not trying to reference any of the proprietary systems. We are instead trying to describe what those proprietary systems do, and that is they treat the wastewater to a secondary treatment level and pursuant to state statutes.
So it's permitted by the state. So can you describe a little bit how that would work if someone were to choose that option?
If they choose that option, they would not be hooking up to sewer. They would have to seek the permitting for that, and I believe they would involve multiple chambered systems that go far beyond what septic systems do in treating the water to a higher standard and a discharge of lower nutrients of nitrogen and so on like that. It's capable of treating and serving more than just one residence.
So it's permitted by the state, though?
Yes, it is.
So as it sits in here, if this policy is effective, as long as the state permitted, it's an allowable system.
That's correct.
So then if the state changes their permitting criteria, then we still must allow that if they change their permitting criteria.
Yes, that's correct.
And that seems to me it kind of erodes our home rule a bit. And I don't know a lot about those systems.
Not a fan.
On the PUD zoning agreement, so that'd be 7. On letter E, what would make this, I think, a lot better is if that, where it says foster healthy lifestyles by creating an interconnected trail system and providing not just access, but public access. Nothing in here requires public access. On line G, it intimates that project elements such as first aid, private security, what kind of first aid does that mean? Does that mean that the project has to have an on-site paramedic? Do they have a first aid kit? Do they have limited provisional fire safety coverage from the county? What exactly does provide first aid mean?
They would be receiving standard EMS services that are provided outside the urban service district, as are all agricultural areas right now receiving the same level of EMS services outside. The specifics of this would have to be identified in the PUD agreement, and exactly, spelling out what this requires would be done in the PUD agreement.
Okay, so is that possible in a PUD agreement to say if you have your on-site first aid, then you have a limited provision of fire rescue services?
They already receive they're permitted to have, and Martin County provides the same level of services to the ag areas, which is a step down from the urban levels of service for EMS service, and in terms of response times. But certainly in a PUD agreement, it could be a requirement that they have certain facilities on site.
All right, I think that'll be it. Overall, there are a lot of good, very positive, the open space requirement of 70% is, I think, that more than you could ask for. I also question some of these things. The language could be much tighter, and someone said it this morning, but you have to look at what the public benefit is on some of these too. And I think the advanced wastewater treatment system, I just can't palate, and how it's going to be managed, and for utilities departments going to oversee it, that to me is a big drawback on this.
All set. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, where have we shown where quadrupling densities has improved water quality? There are conservation easements that were promised on Pineland Prairie, and that was over 2 years ago. And I have been asking for years to get the proof that those are perpetual easements because they were promised. How does that stand? 4 years after it was proposed and 2 years after it was approved, how perpetual are those conservation easements at Pineland Prairie?
The Pineland Prairie future land use map and text amendments were completed, but the development approvals have not been completed on Pineland Prairie. And if there are such easements and the particulars of them, they would be taken care of in the process of those master plan approvals.
So we don't have them, even though they were promised to us at approval time 2 years ago or whenever it was approved. And also,
So Mr. Walden was just whispering in my ear that the requirement for the submission of those was at the time prior to the 300th unit?
Yes, it's in the development agreement.
It's one of those items that's spelled out in the development agreement, which was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Some of those details, as that project comes forward, are within the development agreement, and there are certain triggers related to the number of units. And they obviously have not, there are no units out there as of yet.
so we're still awaiting those perpetual easements.
Pursuant to the negotiated development agreement, yes, ma'am.
We track residential capacity using the active residential development tracking system, which provides for transparency and predictability for providing water and sewer infrastructure needs. Is this proposal part of the RDAP tracking?
No, ma'am. The RDAP tracking does not include any lands outside the primary and secondary urban service district.
Okay. So, under the current regulations, on 1,500 acres, there would be 75 units that would be allowed, right?
1 per 20?
1 per 20.
Yeah. So that's 75 units. Proposed are 317 units, plus golf cottages. Presumably it's 36 holes. Is that what it is?
That's my understanding, yes.
So 36 cottages, plus congregate housing for employees. On 1,500 acres, that would be 90 employees.
I'm not sure of your math. I haven't.
Well, it's 15 times 6, 1,500. You have six units for every 100 acres. I mean, 6 employees for every 100 acres. So that's 90. So we're talking about the difference between 75 units allowed currently as opposed to 317 plus 36 plus congregate housing for 90 employees.
Well, Commissioner, if I may, and I'm not going to go back through the math, but today, there's no limit on golf cottages within the ag area. So,
What's our limit? How many do we allow for 36 holes? Oh, so there's no limit. And those aren't counted. And they're not also counted toward our RDAP capacities. So none of this is counted toward capacity for water and sewer.
Golf cottages are not counted as units. Also, if I may, Commissioner, the 317 that I think you're referencing is in the PUD, and the PUD would incorporate the rural density future land use on 36 acres to the north. So that's part of the reason for that 317. Without that rural density, they don't get to 317.
How many would they get to? 300?
No, they would not get to 300.
Commissioner?
1 per 20.
Could I just interject a little bit? So I know that we have 2 applications that are intertwined, but this is a text amendment. So the specificity of any subsequent proposal and the details of that are not before you, certainly for illustrative matters, but that is a subsequent application that would have to go through the review process. And for a procedural matter, this is the text amendment. And so I just recommend that the discussion talk about the text. Yes, I appreciate that then we have a potential illustration, but I'm doing my usual thing that we need to keep our public hearing segregated on the topic at hand for process.
And you are?
I'm sorry, Senior Assistant County Attorney Krista Story. I apologize.
Commissioner, continue, please.
And the public's use of open space on this proposal? I mean, you're touting 70% open space, and how much of that open space is going to be available to the public for the public's benefit?
There isn't a requirement for it to be open to the public.
And also, conservation easements can be reversed by 3 county commissioners. Is that correct?
If it's in the care of a private 501c3, they would have the control over the easement.
If it was in control of a government agency like the county, which is one of the options, 3 county commissioners can vote to reverse the easement.
Yes, that's correct.
Those are the questions that I have for right now.
Okay, just a little issue on time management, if we don't have any other questions for staff. The applicant, who's doing, Morris, can you come up for a second, please? About how much time are you going to need, Morris, to do your presentation?
I'm going to speak for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I was going to introduce Tom Hurley, the landowner, to speak for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then maybe Steve with Discovery Group to speak for about 5 or 10 minutes. So 30 minutes.
Okay. So here's my plan. We're going to break for lunch at some point. Try to consolidate it, Morris, as much as you can within reason, so that we stick to like noonish. I know you got 20 minutes, 30. We will take that, we will break for lunch, we'll come back, and we will finish up commissioners' questions of the applicants, and we'll take public and we'll deliberate.
Okay.
Mr. Brady, please.
Understood. For the record, my name is Morris Crady. I'm Senior Vice President with Lucido and Associates, a land planning firm here in Stuart, Florida. And just to give you a little bit of my background, yeah, you can hit on that, I think it's fine. I moved here in 1978 from Jacksonville, Florida, and went to school at the Florida Institute of Technology in Jensen Beach from 1978 to 1982, and then began working for Martin County on April 1st, 1982, the day the first comprehensive plan was adopted, and set to work on implementing the comprehensive plan and actually working with Maggie Hercheller on developing the implementation policies for that language in the comprehensive plan, and left the county in 1990. A little more of a realist. When I started there, I was an idealist. I came down here to save the environment, and I left the county understanding that there's a lot more to it than just saying no to everything. And some of the first projects that I worked on have contributed to Martin County's quality of life a great deal. And I don't think a lot of people recognize the fact that the Medalist Golf Club, built on 500 acres, one golf course. MacArthur, 500 acres, one golf course, and now two on another 500 acres in the back. Hope Sound Golf Club. I worked on Jupiter Hills Golf Club. All of these golf clubs have contributed to Martin County's quality of life, not by virtue of having people on those golf courses, but because they've prevented the development of thousands of homes. All that land in the primary urban service area where those golf courses were constructed, and Lob Valley Pines, another one, they all built probably 10% of the density that they could have. So thousands of homes were not built because of these projects in the urban land. And now we're out of urban land. The only thing we have are small infill parcels that we're trying to develop residential density on in order to accommodate the requirements in the comprehensive plan to utilize as much of the existing infrastructure as possible. But this project started as a discovery. This land use policy started as a discovery project. And when it came to me, at the time I didn't know about Discovery and what they were capable of doing, but I've spent the time and learned about their project. And I've also worked on Hope Sound Polo Club and did 50 20-acre lots on Hope Sound Polo Club that were intended to be sold individually. So the landowner is now looking at the Discovery PUD as an alternative to that. And when we submitted, we were going to do an exception to several chapters in the comprehensive plan to specifically allow this particular project on Hope Sound Polo Club property. And after discussing it with staff, and identifying all the public benefits that Discovery was willing to do, which includes access to the Atlantic Ridge State Park, and building roads, donating a 10,000 square foot building to them so they could have public access. We decided that rather than do it in the context of a future PUD, why don't we write a lot of these policies into the comprehensive plan so that if someone else comes in, they'll have to meet the same standards that Discovery is going to meet. So we submitted the original application in April of 2021. We met with staff and had some preliminary comments in June. We provided additional input to the county staff. On or around September of last year, they started talking about this rural lifestyle land use policy. And again, it made sense because we wanted to create an alternative to 20-acre lots out in the agricultural area, or just allowing farming or factory farming to occur, or some other type of agriculture. It became clear that there needed to be another way to deal with these western lands, and Discovery was creating the measurement to determine how those could be allocated. But every project has to go through the same process. So in September, we worked with staff to create the rural land use policies and criteria for the PUD agreement. We had our first public hearing before the local planning agency on January 20th. And even before that, we were having meetings with the Guardians. We were having meetings with the Atlantic Ridge State Park, the preserve, who are very excited about this donation of public access to the state park from Bridge Road. And every project will have to go through the same process, this land use amendment process. And so we're not done yet. We're here today after making some modifications after the LPA. Staff looked at some of the comments that were made during that public hearing and tightened up the language. We agreed with those changes. We agree with the changes today. And to answer your question about the government versus a nonprofit, it should be both. I mean, why can't it be, instead of saying or, say a government agency and a nonprofit? So you have both of those in place so that it can't be changed by just 3 commissioners. So from here, we go on to the DEO if it gets transmitted today, and it comes back for a future adoption in a month or two. And we're willing to continue the education process with the guardians, with the public, and so they understand what this policy does and doesn't do. After hearing the public comments today, it's very clear there is a lot of confusion out there about what it does and what it can do. But the concept is to continue this opportunity to allow for these high-end golf courses that preserve way more open space than they're required to do. They build lakes, they restore habitat, they contribute to water quality improvements. Agriculture does not require treatment of water before it's discharged into the St. Lucie estuary. All of these projects will have to do double, triple treatment than what agriculture does. So there are mechanisms in place that will not only allow you to store that water on site, take it out of the St. Lucie Canal or out of the agricultural ditches, but store it on site, treat it, use it for irrigation, and make sure it's clean before it leaves the site. So from here, we go to DEO. We've submitted a PUD agreement. If you go to the next slide. Oh, I got it here. I'm sorry.
Can you expand the screen so the whole thing is this presentation?
Down on the bottom, Morris.
Okay, thank you. So every project will have to go the land use amendment process, which requires at least 3 public hearings. We also have to submit a PUD, which will include all the details. That goes through a series of staff reviews. We make changes and recommendations, and eventually we'll go before the LPA for another public hearing, which will be the 4th public hearing. We address LPA comments, and we go back to the County Commission for the 5th public hearing before this project has the entitlements. It's still not ready for construction. Before we can get to construction, we have to submit a final site plan application that shows compliance with the comprehensive plan, that shows compliance with all the PUD conditions of approval, and that process takes another several months to go through. So, you know, we're probably 2 years before we can actually go from submitting the application to starting construction, and another couple years after that before we actually have any type of development completed. But as staff was saying, this is not intended to be urban. We can right now go outside of the primary urban service district and apply for agricultural ranchettes at 1 unit per 5 acres. We're not exceeding that. In fact, the way they've crafted the proposal is we'll be less than 1 unit per 5 acres, because if you want to go more than 1 per 20, you've got to find 500 acres off-site within Martin County that qualifies for preservation either as agriculture or conservation lands. So in effect, anything over 1 per 20 requires that 500 acre dedication. In Discovery's cases, it's going to, you know, they're asking for what they could build right now on the existing Polo Club site and the land that they're going to dedicate as perpetual easement, the Becker Nursery. They could right now build 150 units. So I don't know where the math came from, but we've calculated based on 1 unit per 20 and the rural density up there along the state park that they have, they could do 150 units. So we're increasing that to 317, but that comes with a great cost and a lot of public benefits. And without getting into any more detail, I'm going to introduce Tom Hurley so he can explain why he's taken on this task as the landowner and where he's been to date.
My name is Tom Hurley. Myself and my 2 brothers run our company, Becker Holding Corp. We're today celebrating, and actually in 2022, our 60th year farming in Martin County. We got started here in the early 60s. We started off as a citrus company. We started off growing oranges and grapefruit. Back then, I think we had close to 100,000 acres of citrus in Martin County, and that extended from Bridge Road, where the site's located, all the way west out to where Indiantown is, and up to the north near where the prison is. We all remember the hurricanes from 2004 and 2005. That was a turning point for the citrus industry in Martin County, because what happened was we had 2 viral diseases, citrus greening and citrus canker, which you guys probably remember hearing about, and those storms spread it all around the state. So the commercial citrus industry in the state of Florida is really in a state of crisis, and in Martin County, it is non-existent. We don't, I think, have a single commercial tree left in the county. So the landowners at that time, and really since 2005, we've been looking for sources of what a good use for our property. So in our case, we developed the Becker Tree Farm and Nursery business, and we employ about 70 people there, and it's our intention to keep farming that for the next 60 years. Some of the other lands we've sold to other farmers, but it's challenging to go from farming one variety, one crop, to looking around to try to find a number of different crops to sort of fill that same space. And so not only our company, but all the other farming companies out there that historically have farmed citrus, are faced with that same dilemma. So out of that sort of problem-solving set, and just the way the market has moved on in Martin County, because we did such a great job of preserving it over the last 35 years or 40 years, has become an attractive place largely for recreational type things. The golf courses have been brought up. That's clearly a thing. I think equestrian is going to be another thing. Our company has no interest in seeing the area around our farm urbanized. We have no interest in seeing the culture of the area change. And when I got a chance to speak with our neighbors and some of the business leaders in Hobe Sound and on Jupiter Island, we sort of recognize that we all sort of want the same thing for the county. And so out of those discussions came a lot of the elements of what we're discussing today. Now, the devil's always in the details, and there's lots of questions that need to be answered. But the concept was, how do we create a place that's more, how do we have rules that are more flexible than just carving it into 20-acre squares, which is what we had, to create frankly a nicer place, a place that frankly my family and I could be proud of being a part of, while still preserving the urban character or the rural character of this area, and not let it turn into what's to our south and even now to our north. So that's really what this is about. It's about creating an option for landowners. We're going to be probably the first to try to use it, and there may be a couple others, but it's not going to create thousands of units. It's going to create a few hundred units and some wonderful, highly amenitized, beautiful communities that I think everybody in this room will be proud ultimately that it's here. Our partners in our project, Atlantic Fields, you've met, is the Discovery Land Company. They have a 25-year track record of performing, doing what they say they're going to do. I think, will be community number 26 here in Martin County, and I feel very fortunate that they chose Martin County to locate their flagship community in Florida. And I think you guys will be too at the end of the day. So I'm very proud of the work that staff has done. I'm very proud of the work that, frankly, the community has participated in, and the input we have received from the Guardians of Martin County, from the business community in Hobe Sound. All of it has really gone in to create what I think is going to be a really good plan. And I think the more we learn about it as a community, I think the more comfortable everybody will become with it. So, thank you.
No, I'll wait until he's done.
I just had a question for Mr. Hurley.
Morris, do you have anybody else coming up?
Thank you.
I'll bring them back. I'm sorry, Morris, you're good? I have a couple questions maybe for Mr. Hurley, is that right? Tom, can you come back up, please? I'm sorry, just trying to manage. Commissioner Campy, I think,
No,
first.
I'm not. Questions for the applicant. Mine are just general
I just had a
Okay.
brief
Commissioner Heather.
comment, because one, I think that you and your family have always done a very good job of, maintaining functional agriculture, and I respect you for that very much. And certainly 20-acre, chopped up parcels versus preserving it's better to preserve it. I look in here, though, and I've seen your particular, the detailed plan, and I think it's a very good and honorable, valuable plan. What I'm looking in this document that we're discussing right now is, are there ways that we can encourage active, productive agriculture in this plan?
That's a great question. I mean, the challenge is when we go back to citrus. So citrus, it was the industry is pretty straightforward. You farm it, and then there's a very big infrastructure to take it and market it. all the little sort of cottage crops that have tried to come after, like blueberries and some of these other things, they're all these little niche crops, and it's frankly really difficult to sort of mandate that you've got to try one of these, because the market is the market. That being said, there is an interest in farming, and we're certainly a company that does it, and there's a number of companies that are new residents of Martin County, new companies that have taken some of the fallow citrus land, and they're building pepper operations and other types of vegetable operations that historically were on citrus. So that's going to happen, but it's going to, I think, happen organically. Now, in the case of this plan, if we were to take 1,000 acres, or if somebody were to take a 1,000-acre property and propose this rural lifestyle and create a 500-acre parcel that has no other economic use, then yeah, that will be farmed. I mean, if the land is bare, I think it will be farmed. But it's hard to say. I can't say here for sure, like, that it.
No, that's a problem, bigger than this room.
Right.
But I think it's important that if we could if there was anything, and I don't know what it is, I'm not a planner, and something in here to incentivize the active use of the land, that would be beneficial to me. Thank you, though.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Can I tag on to that?
Please.
I mean,
Yeah, for Tom?
yeah.
Okay, please.
Or just make a and I've been thinking about this. One of the biggest challenges of a small farm, and 500 acres is a pretty small farm in the scheme of things, is the cost to hold the land. If that cost in this scenario goes away substantially, having it underneath an easement, and then needs to be leased to somebody that's actively farming, aren't we promoting farming? Isn't that
I think
the consequence of it? Maybe not intended, but that is potentially the consequence of that. So I kind of see it as potentially it's an opportunity that a farmer can actually make a profit on a piece of dirt without paying $1 bazillion for it. That I just, that was a passing thought I had, and I thought I'd throw it out there. Yeah.
That's precisely right. In essence, the new residents are going to be paying for the farmland.
Right.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. Not specifically questions for you, Mr. Hurley, just in general. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be brief in my comments. I think there were enough people that made comments this morning. I heard the passion in the voices. I read the emails that I received. And I think a lot of people said, even you all witnesses this morning, I'm not opposed to every type of development. I understand that something will happen. It also resonates with me when people talk about the conservation land and how do we protect this conservation land. And we're all subject to seeing land in town being scraped away and out of town. But we also hear as commissioners, when we talk about infill development, those projects and the neighbors that live near them also come forward and say, why are you building these things? There were questions this morning about a racetrack gas station. There were questions this morning about a racetrack gas station and how it was next to someone's home. Well, that's what infill development is. So the concept, and I get it, people say, well, we want nothing more. Stop it all. As one of your elected commissioners, I get it. I have family here. I have friends here. I work here. We have to try to find the proper balance. Most of you this morning were looking for us to find that proper balance. And then a lot of you are concerned that, a majority of us, but I'll speak for myself, you approve everything that comes before the commission. Well, that's not exactly true, but the reason it might seem that way is because if someone approaches me as one of your elected representatives with an idea or a project that they have in the future, some of them, after hearing what they have to say and then having an opportunity to speak to staff, I will tell them right up front, I'm not interested. I cannot support your project. Primarily, the folks come to the district commissioners first. Projects in Palm City, in the rural areas west of the Turnpike, I would challenge those projects. And if I can't even with a straight face bring it forward and sit up here and hear about it, I tell them not interested. So now if you've lost the district commissioner, you really have to think how much money and time and effort do you want to invest in your current project proposal that you couldn't even get one of the commissioners to go for it ahead of time. I did support the Pineland Prairie, now Newfield. That has a lot of similarities built into this project that will create farmland and protect and preserve farmland. Knight Kiplinger has been here and his family for decades. He's putting a huge percentage of the property that he's owned for generations aside for all of us. No gates, no particular golf courses in this area. Out in Palm City Farms, they like horses. They like equestrian. He's opened up a massive equestrian trail that they will maintain. Not all of us. So that's there. Now this project, people say to me, and some of you said it this morning, what are you thinking? Why would you even endorse or hear something like this? Why do we even have to participate in this process? You should have shut this down. Using very general terms, because Ms. Krista made a point that as elected officials, as we sit up here, we have to be very careful on what we are debating, because if this goes south for the applicant, there's a very real possibility that they can seek restitution elsewhere, in the courts or in Tallahassee, which none of us want. We're all fighting the home rule to try to control and protect home rule here in Martin County, away from elected officials in Tallahassee. And our staff will tell you, we lose that fight quite a bit. We've lost it a couple of times this session alone, where they are pulling away your ability to speak directly to us, and they're making those decisions for the entire state of Florida in Tallahassee. You don't want that. I certainly don't. The next problem is the litigation. From 2012 to 2016, the majority philosophy changed on the board, if you will. And there was a lot of them were agreeing, say no to every project that comes down the pipe. Some people, and you don't have to trust my opinion or my accuracy of what I'm about to tell you, go back and look. There were applicants that when their agenda item came forward, they showed up with their attorneys, not to discuss land use, their litigation attorneys, and a court stenographer. These meetings are videotaped. There's no reason to have a court stenographer. There already is a record of this meeting. They bring the court stenographer forward as sort of like an example as to remind the commission, if you will, this is what will happen if we don't get our way. Now, I don't want to get into it today because we're on the clock, but there are projects that have already happened that came forward looking for A, were denied, felt that they were treated unfairly and that the decision that they received before the commission was not appropriate. They sued the county and ended up getting more than they had originally asked for. So you can, when someone comes forward with a project proposal, small or large, we can either dictate what they can or cannot do, or we can negotiate what they can or cannot do, because eventually it ends up in one of the other two facilities, the courthouse or the state house. Excuse me. Here's why I'm interested in hearing about this project and at least allowing the applicant to spend their money and time, and our staff to review this, spending your money and their time. If they have 1,000 acres, just let's use it as a round number. If this project was 1,000 acres, they could build one home per 20 acres and they could spread them out all over the property. They are legally allowed to do that. So they could come forward and we would have no choice. Now, if we responded, some of you would want us to, and said specifically, no, they're going to sue us and they're going to get their approval. So now they can build those homes all over the entire property. Instead, this particular group came forward and said, we want to try something different here. We want to consolidate some of these houses, but we want to make some commitments to the public because they get that it's different here. Tom Hurley said his family's been here 60 years, more than most of us. Okay, so this is what I heard from staff, from the applicant's people. We will set aside 70% for open space. Now, it's not going to be, this is farmland for the most part. In this particular case, it's farmland. So it's not a bucolic forest that has been untouched by human hands. It's already been touched by human hands. 70% will be set aside, and then they'll build on 30. Now, a lot of people this morning said, well, we don't care about the tax base, and you guys are fixated on the money for the taxes. Understood. But there are other meetings that we have in this room where people come forward very passionately and say, do not raise our taxes. Do not continue to put your hand in our pockets. And I lean with those folks. Last year when we had a potential increase to your taxes. We sat up here in the evening and fought to stop it. This project, the 317 homes, give or take, I've asked staff repeatedly, what is the approximate value? I'm speaking in approximates, please understand. Just the county ad valorem side of this particular project is $20 million approximately, $17 to $20 million annually, just for the county, not for the school district, not for the Children's Services Council, not for the South Florida Water Management District. That's another 30% on top. Now, I agree with all of you that say, enough with the building. How many houses can you build here? Well, if we were to allow this project to go forward for those 330 plus the cottages, plus the employee dormitories, whatever that works out to be, that equivalent of that specific project, and I've asked staff this repeatedly and been told that this number that I'm about to share with you is accurate, that project offsets the process of building 8,000 average family Martin County homes. 8,000 homes is the equivalent of this 350. That is something that is your elected official that's responsible for helping us figure out how do we pay for everything. That resonates. But if you're an environmentalist, let's discuss that. Part of the project is if you have 1,000 acres, you have to then purchase, or if you own it already, somewhere off-site, an additional 50% more than what you have. So when you heard the applicant say 500 acres, if you're looking to do 2,000, then you owe us 1,000 acres somewhere else. Later today, a lot of very well-intentioned people who have been here in the past are going to ask us to put on the ballot in November a sales tax referendum, similar to what the school district's done, similar to what has been done here in Martin County in the past. 1/2 cent sales tax. In a time when we are seeing record inflation, not similar to what we've seen since 1980, bring that forward. I'm not interested. I'll tell you up front, I'm not interested in taxing all of you and myself and everybody else an additional 1/2 cent. Now, the reason for the 1/2 cent sales tax is valid, to continue to acquire conservation land so that we can stop the constant stripping of the property. I'm going to speak for another 30 seconds. This would allow us to then automatically get from someone else's money, not ours, an additional 500 at the minimum or more into conservation land. That's something that has to be taken seriously into consideration. And finally, I have a suggestion, since this is, we're hearing these things for the first time. I've mentioned this to staff, but obviously I haven't spoken to my colleagues. We're not allowed to speak outside this meeting. I would also include in the rural lifestyle language that whatever that taxable value is on ad valorem, as those homes are added to our tax base, that 25% of that ad valorem value be put into a reserve fund specifically designated for the continuing of purchasing conservation land. That's not your 1/2 cent sales tax making everything you purchase more expensive. That's coming from this. No one's heard this before. I thought about it in the last couple of days. Legally, staff would have to review it to see exactly how that's possible. But think about this. Again, to the round number of just Discovery. That's potentially $20 million a year. That's an extra $5 million going to this county for the purchasing of conservation land. I don't know where that's been done before. Loxalucy are going to be here later. They're all names that you recognize. They're all organizations that you recognize. How about we give them an additional potential on just this one project, $5 million. These are the things that I take into consideration when I hear these things. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. We are going to break for lunch. I have